This might make you rethink how you view foods as healthy or unhealthy. Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about glycemic index. Now, what is glycemic index? It's a ranking system to divide up carbohydrates into higher GI, lower GI, or medium GI, all based on how quickly they raise your blood sugar after ingesting. As the blood sugar is increased, the body secretes insulin as a response. And a disorder of the insulin in the body results in diabetes. So we want to avoid that. Now, each food that contains carbohydrates has a different GI score based on a few things: how it's prepared, what other foods are being consumed alongside it, what is the GI score of the other foods being consumed, and how are they processed, whether there's fructose or lactose being eaten alongside those foods, and also the amount of food being eaten. All these factors contribute to the GI score. If any of those factors change, the GI score may be different. The way that the glycemic index came about is they used glucose as a base threshold for 100 GI score, and then they measured all the other foods in comparison to glucose. So for example, if glucose has 100 GI score, something that doesn't raise the insulin as much will have a lower score. It's important to note that some foods don't have a static GI value. For example, eating an orange versus drinking orange juice, they both have different GI scores. So it's really important to not just take the GI scores at their face value and take into account all the other factors that contribute to a changing GI score. So the three different categories we're going to be talking about today are high GI foods, medium GI foods, and low GI foods. The score of these GI foods range from 0 to 55 for low GI, 56 to 69 for medium GI, and anything above 70 for high GI foods. These GI scores are really valuable for people who are pre-diabetic or are already diabetic. It is also important to know these values if you just want to use it as a preventative. It can also be used to manage gut health and in turn mental health and brain health and the health of the rest of the body. As a general rule, fats and protein are not included in the GI scores because they don't have enough of a insulin response in the body to justify giving them a GI score. So now we know a little bit about what GI is, let's actually have a look at high GI foods. So these foods that have a GI score of over 70 are quickly absorbed by the body, meaning once you ingest it, not only will it raise the blood sugar quicker, it will also raise it higher, and it will also crash down quicker as well. People who would want to consume these foods include runners and other athletes who, during a strenuous period of training, they want a quick burst of energy to continue their training, or if they're in a marathon, they want to replenish their glycogen stores in their muscles. So high GI foods are not in themselves bad, but they have a specific purpose. And if they're consumed without that purpose in mind, the body reacts differently to these foods. It's really hard to say what foods are considered healthy and what are considered unhealthy because it also depends on how your body reacts to it and how you're utilizing that energy that is going into your body. So some high GI foods include white bread, gluten-free bread, whole wheat bread, white rice, watermelon, rice crackers, instant mashed potatoes, cornflakes, and instant oatmeal. Now, you may be looking at these foods and think of them as healthy, or you might have thought of them as unhealthy based on your understanding. And the reason for that is a lot of these high GI foods, especially cereals and breads, are marketed as excellent breakfast food choices. Like, for example, cereals like cornflakes have a really high GI, and rice crackers are even higher. There's also beverages such as Gatorade and Lucozade, which tend to have quite a high GI score, mainly because they are marketed towards people who are engaging in high physical activity, they're losing a lot of electrolytes through their sweat, and they want a lot of instant energy so that they can use it straight away. This might make you rethink how you view foods as healthy or unhealthy. Now, coming to medium GI foods. These foods are not necessarily essential to include in the diet in high amounts, but their intake should be moderated to an extent. Some examples of medium GI foods include boiled brown rice, boiled sweet potato, boiled pumpkin, pineapple, pawpaw, rock melon, cranberry juice, taco shells, couscous, wheat bix, rolled oats porridge, boxed mac and cheese, gluten-free spaghetti, Mars bar, and Coke or Solo or lemon squash. So you might be surprised to hear some of these foods. You might have previously considered wheat bix to be quite healthy, but they're one score away from being a high GI food. So, after listening to all these examples, I'm sure you're wondering, what about the low GI foods? Well, let's get straight into it. Now, low GI foods have a score of less than 55. These foods tend to be comprised of complex carbohydrates. They might also have proteins or fats in them that slows down their digestion. So these mainly complex carbohydrates don't spike your insulin as high. This gives you a feeling of satiety or feeling full for longer. Generally, if you are on a high carb diet, you would want most of your carbohydrates coming from low GI foods. So some examples of low GI drinks include unsweetened orange juice, unsweetened apple juice, full fat milk, full fat soy milk. We have other low GI foods including Bergen fruit loaf, muesli, Kellogg's All Bran, whole grains like buckwheat and boiled corn on the cob, Vita wheat crackers, plain Jats crackers, Greek yogurt, whole apples, whole bananas, kiwi fruit, mango, oranges, also red lentils and black beans, wholemeal spaghetti, and cashew nuts. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of low GI foods. There are many more foods that are low GI. So why don't you do some research yourself? I will link below an excellent website that you can type in any food and it will tell you its GI score. So if I've missed any food that you are curious about, please let me know in the comments below. And were you surprised to learn about the GI score of a particular food that I mentioned in this video? Did you consider rice crackers to be healthier than mango, for example? In conclusion, carbohydrates are an excellent source of energy, but they're not classified as an essential nutrient in our diet. So before you add any carbohydrates in your diet, just make sure you're aware of its impact on your body. There are numerous studies showing that a low carbohydrate diet can be quite beneficial, especially as a preventative for chronic diseases and illnesses. I hope you gained something out of this video. Thank you for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Until then, stay well.